Go for it.
Alright, what is going on? Armageddon versus Rulers of Rome, Ganji coming up and Vodka versus Kasva and Brew over here. With me is Ornlu, who is probably going to present the players as we jump into game number 1. 3, 2, 1, and go.
Hey. Well, we are here, as you're saying, final set of the first day. The last one was quite exciting, so let's see if this one can deliver. The player skill level's definitely there, and I'm hoping for some good games. We will have Kamigawa to the south in the yellow as the Franks for our ROR, and to the west in the red as the Vikings will be Ganji, and of course their opponents will be Brew as the Green Berbers to the northwest, and Kasva in the blue as the Chinese to the northeast for Armageddon.
The first thing that stands out to me over here is that Brew is very, very close here to Ganji. That's pretty unconventional that the two players are this close. The other thing that stands out is that Brew feels like he's MBL and going for these mile-long wars.
You know you love to see it. It's unfortunate for Brew that he is so close to his opponent because, well, that's exactly what the archer player wants. You've got a short rush distance, and the cavalry won't be as able to utilize their mobility, and the archers just have to, walk a few feet to get in range of their opponents. And meanwhile, on the other side, it's going to be a bit better for Kamigawa, as he has a long rush distance versus Kasva, so the archers have to go a long ways, and then the cav are going to be better able to use their mobility that way.
The first spearman of Kamigawa gets picked off over here as Kasva is almost done with his wars. He has a pretty straightforward wars to make over here, which obviously helps him. Although, that's gonna be close. He needs like 2 gates for that. Kasva, 1 gate, 1 house, and it's all good. It's all good.
In the proverbial hood. Almost, the scouts are able to punch through right there. But it is A-okay for Kasva. Does have a few idle villagers that he needs to deal with. Defensive tower already incoming for Kamigawa. That's never something you really want as the Cav player, who's himself is getting walled in. And already we see a massive difference between this set and the last set. You know, these guys, they want to play a bit more defensively. They want to wall up. They want to get to later stages of the game. And yet at the same time, some scouts now running into the base of Ganji. Gonna retreat to the town center, but still, those scouts are gonna be scary.
Exactly. His archers can't really find an opening until now, but it looks like Ganji might be able to use his scout to keep that opening open and march into Brew's base with archers as Brew is forced to flee his base.
Yeah, that's pretty awkward. The faster moving Berber villagers are pretty nice when it comes to trying to get these quick walls in.
But just a little
no.
too slow. And here comes Ganji. So far it has been sort of 2 separate 1v1s, and what we said at the beginning was that Brew and Kasva are supposed to have the individual skill advantage. So far it looks like Ganji's outplaying Brew here on the left side.
Well, he didn't lose any villagers and was able to pick off a scout and a spearman with the town center, so there's the Berberville speed bonus for you in action.
That is true, and looking at the resources, Ganji is very far from Castle Age over here, whereas for Kasva, he's going really heavy on that early Castle Age over here. He's also double
Ganji's actually not that far away, he just has a ton of villagers queued up.
That's what, 5? That's 250 food. He's still at 50 food overall, so...
Yeah, I guess.
Obviously, it's not like he's very far away, but he isn't really close either. Whereas for Kasva, he's about to click up, which is pretty impressive, I have to say, because the archer numbers are pretty close. And the eco upgrades are also somewhat similar, although Ganji has gotten wheelbarrow.
Well, I mean...
Yeah, he's Vikings. So, he obviously has it. Looks like he's gonna go up with a market. In here, Kamigawa is the only player who went for a defensive tower, as Ganji's gonna clean up Kasva's archers over here while the spearmen just turn their backs on them.
Well, they figured, okay, we're not doing anything against archers anyway. Might as well abandon our friends to die.
Ganji, massive market usage, almost ready to click up himself. Now that Brew is fully walled, his base is actually very nice. So, the advantage of all these big walls is that he's got a lot of safe resources. Obviously, it's a nightmare to get all these walls up. It's a big investment, and it takes a lot of time to do it.
And also incredibly vulnerable to just, a few units in Castle Age running in and then just punching them down. But at least they will give you some warning whenever there is an enemy attack happening. Ganji finally fully walled himself. In fact, they were quite tight walls, but it is going to be just enough. Ganji also had a ton of idle TC time that was pretty painful as he was just trying to get to the Castle Age resources. And right now, things are looking pretty smooth, I would say, for Kasva and Brew.
Indeed, it does. Also worth pointing out that Kasva, he's gonna have a half-minute advantage into Castle Age with his archers, and that might just be the timing they need to hit the wood line of Kamigawa or so.
I would say that that could definitely be the case if the archers were on the other side of the map, but they are just now going over. And I think that Kamigawa should be totally fine.
Yeah, he probably will be. There is going to be +1 defense as well for Ganji, something that Kasva already is done doing. I think the big power spike here now could be the faster ballistics for Kasva. Because he's up to Castle Age faster, he can get the university going faster, but it looks like he's going to go for third range instead. Now there is the university.
We got triple stables from Berbers. Kind of normal stuff for them, especially in Empire Wars, but also adding the second TC, so he's not going to be too far behind economically. In fact, he's going to be ahead, not having to build that watchtower, and looks like Kamigawa's just going to mine stone instead of buying some at the market, but that's just going to put him further behind his opponent in terms of villager count.
Exactly. Crossbow numbers are still pretty close, but look at Kasva capitalizing on the Chinese bonus, one of the Chinese bonuses, being able to squeeze in ballistics and tumbling at the same time.
That always is pretty feels good, man. Getting that 15% discount in Castle Age. Just chilling at home for the time being. Doesn't want to push out on the map. These players are all very split up from one another. It's not like, you know, players are close to each other and can defend each other easily. So now we have Kamigawa and Ganji charging forward. Gonna try and make something happen, but we do already have Brew going over to support his teammate. And it looks like we might have a bit of a fight developing in somewhere in these central hills.
You kind of need to fight this on the hills if you're Kasva and Brew, because if you lose these, those crossbows and knights will try to hit Kasva's gold mine, and they can always retreat to these hills. So this is the position to defend for Kasva and Brew here.
Well, there is this higher hill over here, which you can sort of retreat to, and then, you know, if you have the ROR guys push forward, then you can push forward from the higher elevation, but still, armies are a little bit split up right now. Ballistic's going to be in for both archer-making players. But only one's going to have Thumb Ring, and that is Kasva, who also is going to have leather archer armor, so his archers are going to be very well upgraded. Knight upgrades, we just have a little bit of a forging advantage for Brew.
Exactly. There is ballistics in for Ganji, but I don't think that he has Thumb Ring just yet, so that's an advantage on Kasva's side as well.
Yeah, exactly. Knights just getting a little bit of damage done to them. Still, Ganji and Kamigawa, they're pushing deep into enemy territory right now. They're super far away from reinforcements, a few random spearmen coming into support as well, but looks like the fight is about to happen. Even the Wolf, Ornlu the Wolf joining the party, not really going to do anything. It's mostly about just these archers sniping each other. The Night Dance, the beautiful mating dance of the night.
Yeah. Kasva has considerably more archers over here in this combat, 32 versus only 14, so this should be a decisive win here for Kasva and Brew. That's why Ganji is retreating. He's bringing in some more crossbows. Those Strider archers could easily be intercepted by the knights.
They certainly could be. Like, the overall army count is almost dead even, but it's just ROR is so deep in enemy territory that it's hard for them to reinforce effectively, as we even have a few knights coming in from the back. Might just block up the archer pathing. No, actually not wanting to just like really dive in on those crossbowmen, but still now going to be doing that, and the crossbowmen are going to be biting the dust as the crossbow numbers of Kasva in turn are really climbing high.
On the other hand, this could be a disaster for Genji if he loses his crossbows here, because looking at those resources, he wants to go to Imperial. So they need to start falling back, just try to use these hills to cover their retreat, and try to just buy some time until Imperial Age could be achieved. It would be a pretty weak eco-imp, but it's probably what they have to do here.
2 TC imp with Vikings, not that bad. Like, once Imperial Age comes in, you don't really get any like huge eco or military bonus. I mean, you don't really ever have a military bonus in this situation with Vikings, but This hill is going to be absolutely critical to control. If Kasva+Bruh decide to charge it and just take the fight to their opponents and are able to win it, then it could just be all over. But right now, it looks like, okay, Kasva+Bruh are scared away for the time being, and that is exactly what Ganji wants because their army's smaller. They're making the greedy tech play. They just need to survive.
Exactly. It depends on whether or not Kasva and Brew feel confident enough to push this hill. Because if they push it, then Ganji's gonna die. It's not going to be very efficient, and they're gonna go for it.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what you want to be doing. The archer numbers are just so drastically in favor of Kasva. Really just massing those guys in mid-castle age. Thumb ring versus no thumb ring still, I believe. But the archers are just kind of moving around a lot. They're not shooting that much, but I still think that the number discrepancy is just going to be way too huge.
It's too big. You see that the knights are also gone, so there is just barely any yellow knights here, and Kasva and Brew looking strong in the first game over here because Genji's crossbows will now get slaughtered.
Yeah, we're looking at around 11 knights here versus like 3 or 2. Not super ideal. There's another hill over here. This is a very hilly Arabia.
Exactly.
And, you know, the crossbows are doing all right, but, ooh, knights being sent around to just try and block off their retreat. Able to snipe several more crossbowmen right there, but honestly, Ganji's doing about as good as you could ever hope for in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, he still has 28 crossbows, so given the circumstances, he still has at least adequate numbers to be able to win a fight here if he has Arbalest. But I feel like Kasva will just commit even more when he sees that his opponent has reached Imperial.
But with having these 5 archery ranges here, does Kasva have enough to win this? I don't think so.
It's debatable. There is still no thumb ring. So...
That's true. But it's 27 archers to 29 with all the reinforcements coming in here for Ganji. There's thumb ring coming in for him, Arbalest as well. Need to get Bracer coming in.
Yeah.
This is pretty painful. He has like no food income because all of his farms are getting denied. And he just needs that 300 food for a Bracer. Okay, there it is. But still, it's buying enough time to get those upgrades in. The issue is that you're stuck in your base and you're not going to be able to like kill your opponent with this fast timing.
Exactly, and Kasva is retreating, and Brew is basically covering his retreat here with the knights, because Kasva wants to imp himself. And I think that the big thing here that Kasva has managed to achieve is make sure that you sort of negate that Imperial power spike from Vikings, what makes them so strong in Empire Wars.
And in general. It's not like it's any less the case in RM.
Yeah, but it's even more so applicable in Empire Wars.
Well, yeah, just because you start in Feudal Age and it just makes the Vikings just that much more overpowered. But...
overcommitment from Kasva and Brew here? They're probably afraid of those Arbalests marching into the base, but this is not going to be an efficient fight. Kasva's gonna lose a lot of...
They do have high ground.
Maybe.
9 knights for yellow versus 10 for green, but those are including some reinforcements. And Ganji is doing a beautiful job of just shooting, stepping back, shooting, stepping back. And I've got to say that when it comes to like being a good archer player, Ganji is really good with archer civs. Like he's definitely someone that strikes me as like really shines when it comes to playing those like flank civs in team games or archer civs in the situation.
Yeah, he absolutely shines in team games. He is known as the team game player. There's a cast on the right side for Kamigawa, so once we have him in Imperial, which is going to be a long time still, Chivalry will be an option, as it's no longer a Castle Age upgrade.
But still, Imperial Age is... I guess it's still kind of far away for Kamigawa. Still kind of far away for Brew, and he's losing town centers at this point, and it looks like the Imperial Age timing is going to be just enough. I mean, it was close. There was some bad fights taken for Ganji and Kamigawa, but they're getting to Imperial Age, and that is the most important play here.
Important.
Imp what?
Important. Alright, so Kasva is up to Imperial, grabbing Chemistry Bracer. The problem is that his crossbows are still far to help. They probably want to jump on this army as it is. It might work, but now Armageddon is set back very heavily in economy because they're losing so much ground here.
Well, I never really did like Michael Bay movies in general.
Alright, here come the ARBs from Kasva. He is not gonna have +4 defense in either. But Brew is gonna have a lot of knights here to jump this, so this might actually go their way. Still, their eco is very, very weak here.
Yeah, they're down around like 20-some villagers.
Yeah, they have to make this count, and they might be able to though, because if they
Yeah,
clean
they
this
honestly should. Look at their army advantage. It's massive.
Yeah, it's huge. And once those arbs are cleaned up, we're talking about 10 knights for Kamigawa. Kamigawa's imping, but the window to strike is right now for Armageddon, because they have a 4 times as large army as their opponent. And Kasva could just march straight into the base of Kamigawa and steamroll him, whereas Brew could use the mobility against the arbs here.
And you know what this is an amazing example of? It's what I say all the time. The early Imperial Age Arbalest pushes struggle the most just against buildings. You're pushing into the enemy base, you're leaving these stables up. It just allowed Brew to have the time he needed to build lots of knights, and then they were able to just sandwich their opponents in the corner, and now it's going to be Ganji, who's in a terrible position. He's trying to get as many arbs out as he can, but he doesn't have a defensive castle. And the fact that these two players are so close, Brew and Ganji, means that, well, if your push fails, your opponent's right there to push you back.
Exactly. The good news for ROR, as we have Arbalest from Kasva hitting the base of Kamigawa now, is that Kamigawa is almost imp. So he's gonna have about 25, soon to be Cavalier, with +4, whereas Brew is nowhere close to imp.
And it's 124 villagers for Kamigawa. His eco is absolutely gigantic, as Brood ended up losing a ton of villagers right there. He himself is not in the Imperial Age and is not especially close in getting there. And it's going to be a matter of Cavalier and +4 defense take a little while to research, but ooh, here it is. Some knights able to pick off some stray Arbalests.
A lot of our knights go down, though, from Kamigawa.
That
That's
hurts
so
a
bad.
lot.
He's down to 10 knights, and those knights were much, much needed. Conscription coming in soon, Chivalry will hit, and I kind of feel like... Oh, it's hard, because now Brew is going to imp as well. I think Kamigawa might be just enough delayed to buy time for Brew to at least get like halfway up or so.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, Kamigawa would love to have Chivalry right now, but he doesn't really have the wood income for it, as pretty much all of his lumberjacks have been denied. Market's even coming down already. That seems very, very fast. So now there's a castle coming up in the front of Ganji's base. Just still half the army right now. 73 Arbalests for our blue player Kasva.
Ganji has no gold. Ganji has not a single bit of gold right now. And, well, sure enough, Kamigawa is gonna perform pretty well with those Cavalier against the Arbs. Brew is on the way to Imperial, and if Kamigawa doesn't find gold, he just won't have any units to make.
Indeed, but look at this. Cavalier and Arbalest able to pick off some other Arbalests.
Yeah, that
And
was...
with that, the military advantage swings right back in favor of Ganji and Kamigawa, as we have Stonewalls coming in for our red player as well. They're ready to get trade up and running.
Yeah, when it comes to both, like a cavalry player and an archer player and imp, it's definitely better to have the arch or the cavalry player in Imperial, both in terms of mobility and in terms of unit value. So now that it's Cavalier, it's looking much, much better, and Kamigawa is gonna have a nice window here until Brew can get to his own Cavalier. And this is where we have to mention that Franks have Paladin, and Berbers do not.
Very true. Berbers do have cheap Cavalier and cheap Camels potentially, but that just means you're also a little bit weaker to the Arbalests of your opponent. Camel production already coming in, and now it's just going to be a matter of, okay, how long until Paladin? It's still a ways off, as more Cavalier are being queued up, but 137 villagers. Kamigawa's macro has been excellent this game, and oh my god, on the right side is an absolute butchery of villagers.
Exactly, all those vills go down. And there's Overchop on the wood line as well of Kasva, so... Oh, he noticed it. He noticed it just in time, so... Those Cavalier won't be running in. But look at the middle now. Those Cavalier arriving here, as... that's gonna be an awful lot of villagers going down as well for Kasva. And Kasva's eco is now collapsing here.
Oh yeah, it is. Wow, he has just plummeted off a cliff in terms of population. He was at like max population not too long ago, but just Cavalier running in everywhere, taking good fights, using that mobility. Trebuchet's coming in for Kamigawa as well. He's got the castle up at the front. Cavalier even poking away, and will do decent enough damage, honestly. Caravan, Light Cav coming in for our yellow player as well. And they are getting ready for trade, and I really don't see that coming in for Brew and Kasva, as they just don't have control of the easternmost corner.
Exactly. But there is Blade Barding and Cavalier for Brew, so he will be able to match those Cavaliers now, and keep in mind that at this point, Ganji, the only army he's making is Skirms, so it's not like his army is particularly effective here.
And there are these 2 castles in front of his base, one from each enemy player.
Yeah, that's
At the
their thing
insult
as
to
well.
injury.
That's definitely not going to help either. It looks like Kasva's gonna have to abandon the castle, and he's down to 100 vills. They're down by 50 vills overall, and they're nowhere close to setting up trade. But now the Knights, soon to be Cavalier from Brew, start to run into Ganji's base, and Ganji has absolutely no defense against that.
He's starting to make a switch over into Pikemen, finally getting Bowsaw and Heavy Plow, but it's he doesn't have the Pikemen right now. The archer numbers are quite low. The skirmishers might as well be using feathers against those Cavalier. I mean, honestly, this isn't as bad for Brew and Kasva as it could be.
Yeah, it isn't, because now they can actually just tear apart Genji's eco, and as I said, Genji has barely any defense against that. It's skirms and a couple of orbs, but most of those orbs are on the right side, and they're about to get destroyed here.
Oh, yes, they are. They are missing the high ground. There isn't even fletching in for the castle, so the range is going to be quite limited. Also very notable is that we've had Kamigawa completely out of gold, like 0 gold income, which means, well, Cavalier production is going to be difficult, and Paladin upgrade is going to be a no-go, which is why we see so many light cav mixed into this army. Another castle is going to help secure that hill and that gold mine. Now we have trebuchets coming in for Brew, going to start to knock down the castle of Ganji. And, well, the population count between the 2 teams is pretty much dead even.
Exactly. One of the things that Brew benefits from is that he's taking gold and stone from Ganji's base over here, plus he's finding villagers down south from Ganji,
Oh my god, that is so massive.
While the right side is slightly in the favor of Genji and Kamigawa here, I kind of feel like the longevity of this unit composition, as you said, barely any Cavalier left over now for Kamigawa. It's mostly Frankish light cav, which isn't even amazing. Whereas, look at Brew, 50 Cavalier with Berbers.
Yep, they are now also getting trade starting to be up and running. Not the greatest markets in the world for Kasva. Come on, you can place them at the edge of the map. It's not that hard.
Maybe the hills mess something up over here. The bigger problem is the light cav raiding, so I appreciate that ROR is trying to stonewall his one off. But it's not like ROR has massive trade either. ROR has 7 trade cards right now, 2 and 5 for each player respectively, and currently Kamigawa is full light cav.
Yeah, that's not ideal. And the thing with getting trade up and running is you need gold to start investing. Like, you need to actually have some gold before you can get trade up and running, which we really don't have much of for ROR, because they've been spending it all on military. So now you're even forced more so into getting light cav, or skirmishers, or pikemen, instead of actually getting any sort of gold units, because you need the gold for the trade cards. And because, as you're saying, Kasva and Brew have more gold to mine, it's just going to be better for them.
Exactly. And because Kamigawa doesn't have the gold, he also can't just go for the Paladin. He will be stuck at Cavalier as the big cavalry counterattack comes in towards his base. If those get in, then Kamigawa is done.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's trying to hold about as valiantly as possible, but look at the military value discrepancy. 11k versus 5.3k.
Exactly.
That hurts a lot. And that's actually undervalued because it counts Berber Cavalier being cheaper.
And you also have to consider that Kamigawa's 26% gold percentage on his army, Ganji's 13, other side is 55 and 62%.
Yeah, that is pretty darn massive, and right now, Brew and Kasva striking right back. There are some pikemen coming in. I don't think I ever saw chieftains being researched, as that is a fairly expensive upgrade anyway. Pikemen only have +1, I guess now to be +2 defense. And yet, Brew's having to fall back.
I feel like they just don't want to risk anything. They have a bunch of Cavalier in the south corner that is about to hit the trade. That's some awkward markets here from Kamigawa. They're all the way out here on the right.
Yeah.
He could have done
Like, the markets should be where the Cavalier are.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Or at least some of them. Now, Brew is losing quite a lot of Cavalier over here to the pikemen, so he needs to be careful when it comes to preserving his army, but obviously he can go Hussar.
Look at this. Light Cav from Kamigawa keep on swooping in to take out trebuchets, and that's allowed Ganji to keep this castle alive.
Yeah, that's a vital castle. Like, that basically means that if that castle goes down, anyone can walk into the eco of Genji. In here, looking at trade card numbers now, Brew is getting his trade up. Kasva's still only at 1 trade card.
Yeah, and that's a really big issue. He's now trying to switch over into Pikemen, but that's going to take time, and that is going to be time given to Kamigawa and Ganji to get their own trade up and running better, to deal with this massive army of Cavalier from Brew. We actually have 2 Petards in for our green player. What's that for?
I don't even see them. Might just be a wrong hotkey. No, they want to blast through the walls on the north. That's what they're going for.
Yes, this makes sense.
And that's gonna work. That's gonna work pretty nice. Not a huge amount of Hussar though, so I feel like he could have waited for a little bit more, because now he shows his hand, and this gives a chance for Ganji to react. And also, while Genji is distracted, looks like Kasva is going to start pushing the castle on the right side. Arbalest numbers are still scary for Kasva, by the way. They're just sort of stuck in here because they can't push through that castle.
Exactly the case. And that's just, again, the lack of gold. We now have around 34 trade cards versus 17, so that's exactly double, in fact, for ROR, and that's going to help them a lot in the long run. But even without gold, Berber Hussar are good. They cost 20% less. They're even cheaper than Magyar Hussars, not Magyar Hussars, but they can just absolutely wreck trade and villagers, and it's going to be really tough to defend right now against this just massive mobile army from Ru.
Yeah, there's nothing that really kills Kasva's army here. Like, we're talking about 60 Orbs, and the opponents do have 25 Light Cav, 12 Cavaliers, and 50 Pikemen. Hoarding's on the way for Kamigawa. He really wants to hold that castle there, but behind this one, Genji's eco's getting ready to death here by Hussar.
Yeah, he's actually was kind of overpopulated in villagers, so he's just replacing that with military, so it's not really the end of the world for him, although it is value lost, especially when it comes to those trade carts. But masonry and hoardings coming in here for Kamigawa, building HP upgrades, saving lives.
Exactly, but also all those pikemen now getting slaughtered by the orbs, and at some point Kamigawa's gonna run out of stone. In fact, he's running out of stone quite rapidly. Plus, there is a bunch of Cavalier that are just sort of left there by Brew. He forgot about them in
he
the
definitely
base of
forgot
his
about
opponent.
them. Guys, this is why you spam your idle military unit hotkey in late game, because otherwise stuff like this happens.
Even architecture for Kamigawa, so he really wants that castle up, but it's just a matter of time. At some point he's gonna start running out of stone, and he can't buy stone forever.
They do have a lot of trade, but they're investing so much in trade that they just aren't even able to get any military. Chivalry now coming in, and like the population is overall not terrible, but it's just the value is half of their opponents, and that castle is going to go down, although you do have this other castle to fall back to, and that's going to take a while to be destroyed.
Yeah, now the Cavaliers realize that they still exist, so they will start running into Kamigawa's eco, and some markets also got destroyed by Kamigawa over here on the right side, surprisingly. Not sure what's that for. It looks like the left side has stabilized for the time being, but now it looks like this unstoppable force of 64 orbs are just marching forward.
Still, it's an unstoppable force of 64 arbs for sure, but they're also more or less irreplaceable, as there's 5 trade cards right now for Kasva.
Exactly. He can't afford to lose them. The good thing for him is that it's very hard for him to lose them.
Indeed, but it's going to be a really interesting dynamic. The Cavalier are going to be cleaned up in the back of the trade line. I think that this is still totally winnable for ROR.
Yeah, looks like the trenches are being dug right now, as both teams are now starting to get some stone walls up to protect their trade. And this might be the time where Kasva needs to start adding trade himself, because he might need it in the long run.
Bowsaw.
Yeah, Bowsaw, that probably helps as well.
But honestly, the big one's going to be Paladin. And with the trade that Kamigawa's been investing in, only making just a bajillion light cav now with Chivalry, it has allowed him to get the gold income necessary for Paladin. And that is going to be a massive difference maker, as the camel count has always been fairly low, and Cavalier are just not as good as Paladins in late game, obviously, especially Frank Paladins.
Exactly.
So if we can just have ROR hold on a little bit longer and get to Paladin, the Arbs are going to become way less useful, and it should be something that Kamigawa and Ganji can take.
Exactly. There's Heavy Camel on the way for Brew, and I see Kasva as well with the Bloodline, so he might be thinking about Light Cav as well here. But now the Paladin is in, and this will be spotted by Brew and Kasva, so they know exactly that Paladin is coming in. There isn't really that much of a Paladin group over here, so this might be a fight that Kasva can afford to take.
It's certainly possible. The population count between the two teams is pretty similar. Again, the value is in favor of Brew and Kasva, but oh, look at this. This is the exact opposite of what they wanted. The Light Cav were attacking the Cavalier, and the Pikemen were attacking the Arbalests.
Exactly.
That's like literally the opposite of what you want.
And there's only 6 Paladins
that's
left.
Exactly what you want.
Now, at least, Kamigawa is able to replace those Light Cavs with Paladins, but those Paladins will be mostly just trickling in. And in the moment the Paladins are seen, Heavy Cam was probably hit the field here for Brew. The castle is still standing, though.
The castle is still standing, and Brew is actually on 40 trade carts right now. Ganji on 57. Ganji is slinging his teammate a lot. He did get banking a while ago, which is why his own army is pretty minimal right now. He's just really focusing on giving his teammate the tools he needs, aka resources, to get to a massive number of paladins, but it's all going to come down to the power of chivalry, because he needs it just to turn out these paladins as quickly as possible. But I just don't think the population space is there right now. There's 141 economic units for Kamigawa.
Yeah, well, the good news for him is that raids are coming in, but look at the castle on the left side, because Brew actually just wants to use that Berber bonus, run past the TCs with Vias, and he wants a castle right in the middle of the trade.
Still so many more units queued up here from Kasva, and again, it's the power of chivalry. The Arbs are now, I feel, going to be in jeopardy as more paladins with 192 HP streaming forward. Siege Ram is going to come in, Halb is going to come in, even Arrow Slits is going to come in. But is that going to be enough?
There's Halberdiers, and they have pretty decent upgrades, but there's still 32 Paladin over here. Those Arbalests might get slaughtered. As you said, they are irreplaceable for Kasva.
But the castle's going to go up, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that castle is going up.
That's a little awkward to deal with. Trebuchet's almost complete, though. But it's going to bring the trade of Ganji and Kamigawa to a standstill for the time being.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of precious trade cards lost, and you're going to have to spend your gold on replacing them. Whereas for Kasva, he was able to preserve almost 50 ARPs here.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, honestly. And he's got 11 Siege Rams queued up. Talk about a great way to break a stalemate.
Yeah, all the markets got deleted and they will be replaced with one over here by Genji, so it's more about preserving the trade numbers rather than making them efficient.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have tons of trade carts. They'll be generating at least some kind of gold. You want it as efficient as possible, but still, it's not worth losing them for.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna have a counterattack here by Kamigawa, and this could be the first time when they're really hitting the economy of Brew and Kasva. Because Brew doesn't really have any camels out there.
No, he's got 40 trade carts or something like that. Make that 50 now, but he's been mostly making Cavaliers and slinging his teammate. But, I mean, the castle's going to go down eventually, it seems like. Nope, Cavalier. Beautiful surround, actually, on those trebuchets. But that's not cheap.
Yeah, in fact, that's very expensive. Especially when Light Cavs and Paladins are raiding your trade and you keep losing that. On the other side, though, it's only Pikemen from Genji and Paladin from Kamigawa, so Halberdier Siege Ram could work here for Kasva as he's getting Murder Hose.
Oh, that's the play. Elite Camel Archer.
Oh. He's also getting Maghrebi Camels. It might work, because there's full Paladin here from Genji, and might just be Elite Camel Archer plus Halberdier then.
Well, that should be enough to deal with the Paladin. Like, Paladin versus Camel Archer, it's... Like, the Paladins can still run them over in, like, equal numbers, but if the Camel Archers can take a good defensive position, if they have some sort of meat shield in front of them, they can do quite well. But those pikemen are absolutely obliterating this Berber cavalry right now.
Exactly. I mean, the castle still is up, and it's all about buying time here for Brew, because they know exactly that this hurts the eco of the opponent. But now Kamigawa is the one that's pressing on the right side with a lot of raids, and Kasva actually techs into Heavy Camo, but he doesn't really have the gold income to mass them. In fact, he might soon not even have the resource income to do anything.
Yeah, this is actually looking, I think, pretty grim for Brew and Kaspa, despite them having like an enormous score lead. They're behind in population. The castle is going to go down eventually, and the Camel Archer switch I feel like could be a little bit too late, as just more Paladins will flood forward, but now it's Heavy Camel plus Halberdier, and that means you're going to need to have something to support those Paladins, but the rest of the Arbs go down.
Yeah, all the Arbs are gone, basically. There is going to be heavy camos, but I think that once you start making those heavy camos, you're going to realize that 10 trade cards is not enough for that. And that's 10 in the best case scenario. Bruce Castle also getting cleaned up on the left side.
Exactly, but more Camel Archers going to try and come in and do some raiding. They have pretty good upgrades, more Hussars as well. And the thing with Berbers is that their army is insanely cost efficient, but the castle on the far left side does go down. There's some random archery range over here, probably just to get Thumb Ring. But now the markets are going to be reestablished right away here for Ganji. That's exactly what you need. And still the Camel Archers are here.
Yeah, the Camel Archers, the thing that they give you is that they don't have to chase trade cards. They just stop at a certain point and just keep shooting. Whereas for Blightcalf, Paladins, whatever, they have to chase trade cards.
Indeed. Castle's going to come in, and looks like we will have Brew and Kamigawa force back, or sorry, Brew and Kasva force back for the time being. And it seems like the game is kind of stabilizing.
Yeah, it's stabilizing. Kasva has some camels with dubious upgrades, but he's mostly Halberdier and probably Siege Ram as well. In fact, he's probably preparing a Siege Ram push on the far left side.
Oh, to have a Corgi in your life. Dog wants to go in, dog wants to go out. But yeah, still, the overall trade, we're looking at, what, around 90 versus 62? That is just massively in favor of ROR.
Exactly. Although they now have to regain their efficiency, because obviously they were a lot more inefficient. And a lot of those trade cards are going down to the Camel Archers here. That's the win condition for Brew's team.
Yeah, but you got a lot of trade cards you're going to need to push through. And the thing is that Ganji's just going to be slinging all of his resources to Kamigawa. And he doesn't actually need the gold from those trade cards.
That is absolutely true, and now, as you said, the Paladin could easily overrun the Camel Archers, although the amount of Camel Archers is increasing steadily as Siege Rams hit the field as well. Behind this one, the Halberdiers of Kasva just casually ran past the castle here from Kamigawa.
They don't care, man. They do their own thing. Okay, now Chieftains and Conscription are coming in. And just a quick question. You don't have a time limit for this tournament?
No.
Good.
We don't play it like that.
Good.
I am fairly certain that Red Bull only has a time limit because they need to keep the schedule of the qualifiers and stuff like that. We play until death here.
That is great to hear, because I would hate to see this game end just with a time limit thing. But now, looks like throwing axemen are going to be coming in to try and start to deal with those halberdiers, so can't stop, won't stop.
Exactly. There's still a ridiculous amount of pikemen here for Ganji, but that's just because he needs to make something. Other than that, he's, as you said, slinging his teammate into more Paladin. Now, however, Kasva is slowly starting to push the right side with Halberdiers.
Replacing a bit of stone wall with a palisade gate. That's like the saddest thing in the world.
Feels bad.
But yeah, what a fantastic game number one here.
Absolutely. 1 hour
Just
and
goes to show.
This is Empire
Arabian
Wars
men.
1 hour.
Yeah, exactly.
And you see how close the two teams are. This is why I think that this might be the closest set, or at least just by looking at the matchups, this might be the closest set of the qualifiers.
Trebuchets are knocking down some camel archers. That's not something you see every day.
Yeah, looks like the body numbers are still very high for Kamigawa, and he just keeps sending them into the base of Kasva over here. Kasva trying to go for fortified wall. He could even get Great Wall if he wanted to. Whereas, just look at all the blue around the base of Kamigawa here. All those halberdiers running around poking down vills.
It's pretty rough, but the military numbers are still there for Kamigawa for the time being. And yeah, there's some sort of walling in here for Kasva and Brew, but it's nowhere near the as complete as the walling for Ganji and Kamigawa. I mean, it's still not a complete wall, but it's much more there. and it's going to make actually pushing quite difficult. That said, we're now at 57 elite camel archers, and that's really scary.
Yeah, that's a scary push, and there is the petard blasting through the fortified walls. And when this many camel archers get into your trade could disappear in a matter of seconds.
Definitely the case, but that's a very expensive army right there. Have to be super careful with it. There's still paladins running around everywhere. There's so much population in these halberdiers that's just spent trying to chase down paladins. Like 44 halbs in the back of the base of Kasva. That's not really the most population efficient thing in the world, but as you're saying, those camel archers are absolutely annihilating the trade here of Ganji and Kamigawa.
And soon we're looking into an even trade situation. Looks like Cavalier is being mixed in here as well by Kasva, since Genji started making arbs on the right side again. So there is a need for something that beats arbs for Kasva over here. Still, the trade is going down disturbingly fast. It's almost even now.
Indeed it is, and the army count is also in favor of Brew and Kasva, but those arbs are going to be really scary, even some throwing axemen just for good measure. The main thing they're lacking at this point is siege. They really don't have a great way of just taking down all of the buildings in front of Kasva's base.
Exactly, looks like the Paladin will try to run in once again. Kasva had some stone wall foundations, but no one actually finished that. And many camel archers go down, to be honest. Like, Genji and Kamigawa are losing a lot of their trade, but it's not that easy to replace all those camel archers that are being lost right now.
Well, if you think about it, a trade cart and a camel archer, like if you compare their cost, a trade cart's way more expensive than a camel archer.
And it obviously hurts your eco more. It's a matter of having army on the field for Brew. Looks like he's able to keep producing, though.
There's 5 castles with Kasva, you're fine.
Yeah, he is. It looks like he is, as the Arbalest of Ganji are now moving up, and Kasva doesn't seem to have an answer to ARPs here.
Nothing better than his own Arbalests, but that's not really super ideal, or maybe siege rams being put in between the two players, but right now the military count is getting even more even.
But
and
look at the trade card numbers. Those camel archers are really paying for their price. They finally get cleaned up by Genji, but Kamigawa and Ganji now combined for 53 trade cards, less than Brew's alone.
True, but the army is way better, it seems, for ROR.
It is. It is. I mean, 32 Paladins, 55 Orbs. It's a matter of securing the trade, I would say, for ROR right now. They need to ensure that their trade is safe, and then they'll be able to counterattack and win fights straight up.
Yeah, the camel archers running around everywhere, even some hussars being super annoying. And to be fair, the population count of Ganji is really low right now. Unfortunately, Vikings are just by far the weakest civ here in the game, just in post-imp scenarios.
Exactly.
So he's really had to spend just a lot of resources trying to help his teammate, but the thing is, there's only so much population space available for Kamigawa.
Exactly, and he lost so much trade right now. He's down to 24 trade cards. And they are sort of unable to retaliate right now. Soon wood is a thing to look at, though, because the players are starting to run out of choppable trees.
Yeah. There's a fair amount left still, though. Probably in like 15 minutes. Like, because it's Empire Wars, there's still a lot more wood left than you would expect if this were RM.
Exactly. The villager count is still pretty close. Looks like Brew and Kasva are able to take a good fight on the right side. They seem to have a pretty decisive score lead, but I think that just comes down to probably the KD of Brew.
Yeah, that's probably it. And the thing is, now the camel archers are going to start to become really scary, because they're just so freaking population efficient.
And they preserve their values so well as well, although if you run into a bunch of elite skirms, things could really change. Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's not what you want in life.
That is a massive problem for Brew there, because those camel archers are disappearing against the elite skirms here.
Yeah, and the paladins don't really help the matter either. Some trebuchets and siege rams coming in. Another castle on the right side here for Kamigawa.
Yeah,
but, I mean, now Brew's team has the population advantage when it comes to both army and value.
And the Camel Archers once again just come in to raid the trade, as Kamigawa and Ganji are just unable to catch a breath. Mobility is on the side of Brew with the Camel Archers though to raid.
Oh yeah, I mean, sure, Franks have paladins and stuff, but their light cav are terrible, and the camel archers are just able to just go everywhere way faster and more easily. And you can just retain their value so much longer than you can with paladins, which are all going to die eventually. Especially now we have some more heavy camels being mixed in. They're so cheap at this point. 20% discount. That's almost as cheap as like Byzantines, but you also get Blast Furnace and Bloodlines. It feels good, man.
Exactly, and it looks like the ARPs from Ganji will march straight to the trade of Kasva's team. That might be the best decision, honestly. Especially if a couple of cavalry units can also hit the wood lines of Kasva here, which is a pretty decent target, I would say.
Yeah, you could say that. There's like, what? Is it 56 villagers here?
Yeah, that's a pretty decent target. This fight might be crucial here. Looks like the Arbs are able to pick off the camels, though. Are they?
They're... not really. And the thing is, you have both Arbalests and Camel Archers firing from the back, and there's just enough of a meat shield to really make the difference, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, the strength of the armies of Kamigawa and Ganji is their paladins. It's their best unit. Whereas the best units of Brute and Kasva are the Camel Archers, which are ranged. So they're just going to be trading so much more efficiently in the long run, and you just need to have enough of a meat shield so that the Camel Archers aren't getting wrecked. And if you're able to do that, like in that fight, you're going to win this game.
Exactly. I kind of feel like Ganji just wanted to push even more so towards the trade, instead of maybe trying to take down the camels. I'm not sure if they could have won that fight anyways, but it very much seems like the Paladin was just the meat shield for the Arbalest to reach the trade. But now, once again, 42 elite Camel Archers, and population efficiency is a very important factor here for those as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's 40 light cav for Kamigawa. Those aren't that great. There's even some skirmishers and pikemen for Ganji, whereas most of the population for Brew and Kasva is in gold units. Like, almost all of it.
Yeah, Kamigawa is just unable to replenish his Paladin right now because he took a beating on the trade.
And now the siege rams are coming in, and that's been the crucial missing component for either of these teams. It's just the lack of a heavy siege. No bombard cannons, no siege rams, or no tons of trebuchets. But now we have that. We have the camel archers, and this might be the killing blow right here for Brew and Kasva.
Yeah, exactly. If they take down this castle on the hilltop from Genji, that's gonna be the perfect spot for the camel archers to just cut that trade into half.
Exactly, and the Arbs are just struggling so much when it comes to mobility. Tons of light cav that are not paladins. Ornlu analysis of the month right there. But it really is just a huge issue.
Exactly, it is. The best thing that these Arbs can do is try to focus down the camel archers, but as you said, there is not really enough paladins here. Mostly it's just light cav in this screen.
And the thing is, Arbs aren't even better than Camel Archers. Camel Archers beat Arbalests one-on-one when you're looking at population efficiency, which is really a huge issue.
There is some traps as well, which obviously help for Kasva here, because the siege rams do go down, and once again, those Arbs might actually find a chance to take down the Camel Archers. But there is Kasva as well with his own Arbs. I don't see these castles being held anymore.
Paladins are just not in sufficient number, really.
They snipe the traps, though.
Oh, wow. Ooh, beautiful flank here. Kamigawa's been doing a beautiful job of that all game long.
And guess what? They hold the castles. It's not like that's going to win them the game, but it's going to buy them some time, and suddenly more paladins start to hit the field here for Kamigawa.
Yeah, he's still got a few more in production, but they are now just getting absolutely melted. The Arbs from behind from Ganji are going to try and do the very best they can, and without the siege rams in the way, having that meat shield means they will just win this fight. I found that out the hard way in a game I played not too long ago.
Yeah, Kasva lost an awful lot of Arbs here, like 20-ish, and many Camel Archers went down as well. And look at the next wave of Paladins coming in here for Kamigawa.
Yep, that's exactly the case. There are more siege rams coming in, but their siege workshops are super far away. And now the military numbers are pretty even. Might be Brew and Kasva trying to force this one a little too hard.
Yeah, they really want to take this down, but this could backfire because now if you look at the trade, it's once again in the favor of Kamigawa and Kanji.
Yep, around 94 versus 79. So that's
81.
81, something like that. I trust your math more than mine. But now we have more camels coming in. It's just the camels do such a great job killing those paladins, and the paladins are so expensive, and the camels really aren't in the grand scheme of things.
Oh yeah, like, it kind of feels like Bruh and Kasva just wants to pierce through here in the middle, but this doesn't seem to work, and guess what? Their army gets forced back over here pretty heavily. Kasva lost an awful lot of ARPs here, and remember that his gold income isn't the best in the game.
Nope, he has the fewest amount of trade carts. Kamigawa pretty close, but he's also just constantly receiving sling from his teammate. And now it's time for the berserks, I guess.
Yeah, like, at this point, probably. Kasva also picked up 3 relics, which starts to matter at this time, because the game is so long that those relics really give you thousands of extra gold.
Yeah, that's pretty darn helpful, even if there is trade on the field. Just having a little bit of extra gold is not something you can complain about.
Exactly.
And yeah, the reinforcements were very far away for Bruh and Kasva, just because what they weren't doing is they weren't just dropping a bunch of production buildings on the front lines in this huge no man's land. Like, they're doing that now, or at least they're trying to, but they needed those way, 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 way earlier.
And now we're talking about wood potentially becoming a luxury here soon. Because you see that wood lines across the map are running out, and we already have Kasva chopping wood on the far left, where Ganji is. So, ROR will need to secure some map control here, otherwise they will have issues with wood income.
They will indeed, but they also are going to need to start to push right now because they're max pop, and they still have a lesser army value than their opponents, who are still like a good 30 pop away.
Exactly.
And this is going to be the fight. The Camel Archers are just going to try and fight uphill against the Arbalest. The Camels
That's
are
an
just
awful
being...
fight. That's an awful fight for ROR.
Oh, man. That is just absolute brutality from Kasva.
Exactly. Like, it was possibly the worst possible fight for ROR there. They just went in, Arbalests were fighting Camel Archers, and the Paladins were fighting the Heavy Camels. ROR is getting cleaned up over here really badly.
That is quite painful, but more Paladins and Arbs are on the way, and so are more Camels.
Oh, man. What a game, and this is just game number 1.
Yeah, seriously.
This is one of those sets, or one of those matchups where you have an extremely long first game, and then maybe the next 3 games will combine for 20 minutes, because it's Empire Wars and it might be so aggressive.
True.
That is 44 Paladins, 1 Berserk on the field. Looks like Ganji will remain on Arbs.
Yeah, it probably feels like he doesn't have the time for reinforcement, or to switch over into the Berserks. And even then, like, what are Berserks really getting you?
Nothing.
They just die super hard to Camel Archers.
Absolutely. 5 traps crawling up on the left side by Bruh. Wonder what they are for, but they might be trying to contest the far left castle of Ganji here and open up the trade that way.
You can always cut through the trees.
That's also true. He also has 4
wow.
petards.
Really quick reaction. These fortified walls are coming in right away.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to the castle though and not to chop down the trees. There's 4 petards, by the way, to blast through the fortified walls.
Well, there you go. And yet, look at the production for Kamigawa right now.
60
28 paladins in the queue, 60 on the field.
Holy potatoes. And Kasva and Bruh aren't really fully evolved on their trade either, so that many paladin running in could be troublesome. This forces Kasva to defend. Now, Kasva can definitely defend with that many camels against the paladins.
Yeah, and this left side is looking real scary.
Exactly. Siege Gems will knock down those fortified walls very easily, and 5 traps. There's also the petards coming in, so every single bit of siege equipment that is available on the map is being used right now by the Armageddon. Try and get into that trade once again and finish off the trade of Ganji and Kamigawa here, but that's a lot of Paladin, man.
It's a lot of paladin, and it's 29 arbs to back them up. But still, they don't kill buildings that well.
And the Camel Archers are in. The markets have to be destroyed entirely, but the next closest castle is in the middle of the map, so there is no way to protect this trade now, and this might be the killing blow here by Bruh and Kasva.
Yeah. We have not the greatest fight in the world for them on the defense, but like I've been saying, siege is just going to be this most important missing component because if you're not killing buildings, you're just going to start to push too far into the enemy base that your entire army is going to get mopped up.
And you see that the heavy camos are insufficient numbers here for Kasva to at least grind down the paladin numbers and buy Brew enough time.
Also, a lot of the paladins are getting stuck.
Yeah. There is still a large amount of paladins, and I would love to see some paladins being detached to raid. Looks like the camel archers are disengaging, so Kamigawa and Ganji can retain their trade for now.
Not too sure why. I guess they feel like they did their job. They're making their opponent's trade inefficient.
Oh no, the reason why is because the market for Ganji that's closest now is on the outside of those walls, and that's something that Brew just now pinged.
Oh, yeah, that is really unfortunate, but also Camel's just butchering paladins. Not even remotely close right there. Now Cavalier coming in, they're just like switching roles, you know, it's like the archers from Chinese, cavalry from Berbers, and now it's the opposite.
Yeah, now Armageddon's army is much larger. Kasva cleaning it up. 1 hour 33 minutes in this one as Ganji wanted to castle drop on the right side, but that didn't actually happen. Camel Archers once again taking a fight up hills against the Arbs here, but as you said, they just retain their value so well. 63 elite Camel Archers with Maghrebi camels.
Yeah, they're healing themselves in between battles, and this just helps so much when it comes to longevity. Tons of paladins are charging in. The camel archers will need to retreat, but as soon as those camels show up, which are currently streaming across the map with some cavalier friendos, it should be exactly what you need.
Yeah, once again we're back to 60 paladins. Kasva now is up to 50 trade cards as well, so he can mass produce camels, though, and he needs to.
Ganji trying to build his castle here on the right side just to secure wood income. Villagers getting stopped by houses. But currently, tons of villagers now going down for Ganji. And this fight in the middle, it just seems like such a scarier army for Brew and Kasva. I mean, like 19k value versus 13k. Vikings just don't have anything to contribute at this point that's really good.
Exactly. They have Arbs, but that's it. Looks like we are in for a big fight over here, and the Arbs do get surrounded. That's once again a very, very bad fight over here for the Paladins, I believe.
Well, the Arbs are having to run away right now, but they do find some sort of meat shield from the Paladins, which are able to just squeeze on by. Oh, but now they're retreating back even more.
And the Trebs are shelling the castle, so...
Ooh, yeah, they are.
Camels went down, though, or at least most of them, so suddenly the Paladins could launch a counterattack, and that castle falls. That's still value there for...
Antiash gets the castle up on the right side.
Yeah, he got it up.
And murder holes. Murder holes, guys!
He's denying that wood line. I'm starting to think about how much wood there is left. Kamigawa and Ganji have no wood, basically. So, they have 0 income. Which hurts the Arbalest production pretty badly, by the way. Whereas Kasva and Brew have a bigger bank and they have more map control. I am starting to see the options running out here for our war.
Yeah. Brew and Kasva, Armageddon, having more resources in the long run should be really important for them, but another really big fight happening right here. Arbs shooting from the high ground. Is it going to be enough? The Paladin numbers just, in this fight here, seem to be a little bit low, and the Camel Archer numbers are going to be standing tall.
Yeah, it's about killing those Camel Archers now. This is getting similar to like a deathmatch late game, where there is just no resources left, and that's where these hard-to-kill, ranged mobility units like Camel Archers are so powerful.
Siege Rams even knocking down the castle of Ganji on the right side, and now Camel Archers charging forward. The Paladin numbers are dropping immensely. They're even having to be supplemented with Light Cav again, which is never a great sign. Whereas we have tons more Cavalier in the production for Kasva and Brew. 75 Camel Archers.
Well...
Wow.
This happened.
An hour and 40 minutes almost.
In an Empire Wars game, let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
What a game. And the thing is that it wasn't one of those games where Kamigawa and Ganji were entirely dead the whole time. Like, they actually had their moments where it seemed like they might be able to counterattack this. So...
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, it was very close until, you know, towards the very end. And it really just it came down to map control, it came down to army composition, and unfortunately, you never really plan your civs for like post-imp in Empire Wars, but the better post-imp civs were very much in favor of Brew and Kasva, but they got themselves in a better position in like early Imperial Age with like all of their forward stuff, and that just gave them so much more room with which to push.
Yeah. Quick look at the stats. I'm curious about the statistics over here.
Oh, that KD for Brew.
Yeah,
Oh, that
1,400
KD.
kills. That is just brutal. Genji with almost perfect 1.0 KD. But really, I think if you look at the building skill that ratio, that tells you a
Yeah.
lot more about the game.
It's actually not. Oh, wow, yeah. 85, 35 versus around 19 and 13.
Yeah, that's brutal. Brew also had a way better economy at the end. Trade profit, best for Genji, second best for Brew. Relic is helping a little bit here for Kasva overall. How many technologies were researched?
Well, naturally, Brew and Kasva had the most as they kind of just switched roles at the end of the game.
Yeah, indeed. What a game this was. The APM graph is also a beauty to look at. Especially...
Wow, 82 for Kamigawa across a game that's that long.
Yeah. They probably took a break after this one, that's for sure.
I would hope so.
So, let's add a score over here to Armageddon. Hard-fought victory, if I may put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
So, Franks are gone. Berbers, Chinese. And anyone remembers the beginning of this game when we were talking about how close Genji was to the...
Yeah.
It felt like it was, I don't know, ages ago.
It was, I mean, it was around 3 ages ago. You know, Imperial Age, Castle Age, Feudal Age, and then Dark Age.
Can I just change co-caster in the middle of a set?
I mean, it's your tournament. You can do what you want, man.
Alright. So, one up is Kasva and Brew, which means we're going to the home map of ROR, which can either be Golden Pit or River Belt.
It can indeed.
And we are ready, I believe, with game number 2, which is Golden Pit, if I'm not mistaken.
You are not mistaken.
Alright, let's get going with the next game. So I'm paused at 6 seconds. Whenever you're ready, we can get going.
I am at 6 seconds as well.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, and go.
Well, here we are. Game number 2 only in this best of 5. That was an insanely long game number 1, almost an hour and 50 minutes. But now these players have to, you know, think back to the beginning of an Empire War game and just how aggressive and, like, micro-intensive it is. And let's see how they're able to do that. Winning the last game, we have Brew in the green to the southeast of the map as the Cumans, and his teammate will be Kasva in the blue as the Italians to the northeast, and of course they will be up against Ganji in the red as the Koreans to the northwest, and to the southwest in the yellow as the Burgundians will be Kamigawa.
Indeed, so Burgundians, Koreans versus Cumans, Italians. If this was 2 polls, I would say that, hey, this is an awkward civilization matchup, but it's the result of the format. But here, they can draft whatever civs they want, so there is some interesting things to this one. And remember, this is the old patch, so correct me if I'm wrong, but Cumans are still sort of potato when it comes to their production buildings. That's a addition for a new patch.
That was part of the Dawn of the Dukes patch, which we are unfortunately not playing on.
This round. That's actually important. Because starting the first round of the group stage, which is Saturday, Sunday, we actually do, including new civs, so Poles and Bohemians will potentially make a debut.
Well, that'll be fun. I think the civs are plenty balanced enough to, you know, be featured in a tournament.
Exactly. So, we have Brew potentially not noticing a hole at the back of his base, something that could backfire really badly considering that he just wants to play for a 2 TC boom here.
And the scout coming around here for Kamigawa, he might have just right-clicked it into the enemy base, but no, Brew is going to realize that, just needs to drop a house.
A house?
Just needs to drop a house.
Okay, there it goes.
Okay.
Better late than never. He has the Kuman Scout as well, so he can just run away from any combat he wishes not to use. And it looks like Brew had a villager here on the outside that has to be walled in entirely because the scouts arrived. I have no idea what this guy was doing here.
Oh yeah. That's kind of awkward. And just looking at how these guys are opening, indeed, humans going for the Coomer Boomer play, but eco upgrades are still not Castle Age upgrades. I believe in Empire Wars, Burgundians don't start with like Dark Age, Double Bit Axe, and Horse Collar, right? You have to still research
no.
them in Feudal Age.
They do have to...
Oh, that's annoying.
They do have to research it. Still, I mean, they get the discount, right? So being able to squeeze in Bitaxe and Horse Collar without problems is definitely helpful.
Oh, there's a double-click instance here for Brew. He selected like all of his villagers and he had to retask them. That's unfortunate.
That just feels bad. That the villager is actually slowly expanding that little base, trying to get back home before the archers arrive, but poor little guy, I think that's the end for him.
Alas. Well, despite the extended Feudal Age play for Brew, his teammate Kasva is going to be going for an aggressive Castle Age play. He's got plenty of archers in these archery ranges. He's up on his way to Castle Age. And looking at these civs, we have Koreans and Burgundians versus Italians and Cumans. I feel like... Oh, this is tough, but I think the stronger late game civs, especially when it comes to contesting the middle, is going to be in favor of ROR.
Yeah,
and this is their home map.
I probably agree with that. It's interesting to see Kasva playing Italians here, because I'm not sure what exactly the benefit is that you're getting from Italians here. Obviously, cheaper age up helps, but it's not like Italians is a very common civilization for Golden Pit, right?
Mm-hmm. It could just be based on the other maps they're playing. But in terms of, like, you don't even get the Dark Age bonus, right? You don't get a cheaper Feudal Age, you just start in Feudal Age, so you're missing that aspect of the Civ as well.
Exactly. Second stable coming in here for Kamigawa, so it's probably gonna be some knights, maybe even a third stable for mass cavaliers and just contest the middle, TC, or maybe even drop a castle there later for Genji once he starts mining stone.
Yep, that sounds good. But notably, despite being, humans going for the 2 TC boom play, unless, we're going to be seeing something very different, it's going to be Brew going for knights as humans. Unfortunately, probably not going to be seeing Step Lancers, since they are still fairly bad, but it's going to be knights, not Kipchoks.
Exactly. Probably a better choice here, to be honest. As crossbows from Kasva are arriving, Castle Age is just now coming in for Genji, so I think he will be able to hold, especially because he will have +2 defense immediately.
Yeah, no armor upgrades at all here for Kasva, but in like low archer numbers, when you're just like shooting and moving and shooting and moving and trying to micro like that, the armor upgrades don't really matter because you're doing so much overkill damage anyway. But still looks like we're going to be seeing Kasva fall back just a little bit, and things are just going to kind of continue on as normal, but that's going to be really nice for Brew because he has a very high villager count at 54, ahead by 14 compared to his counterpart. Although Kamigawa does have lots of eco upgrades, but still, I think it's going to be better here in the long run for the Armageddon.
Kamigawa TCing the middle right now, getting some Knights out, Cavalier, and +2 defense are also on the way. Whereas for Kasva, he's going to lose his scout, but he sees that Genji's crossbows are still back at home.
They're just big chillin'. We have the third archery range coming in for Blue. Not adding in any town center is either archer-making player. Ballistic's about to come in here for Ganji, so we might be seeing the... no, not one TC play, because we have a bunch of villagers going towards the middle without having mined a bunch of stone. So Ganji going to be going for a town center in the middle as well.
It's interesting because I'm still trying to see the reason behind picking Italians here, and cheaper Imperial might be part of that. So if you're Italians here, you might be considering a 1TC imp style approach, but it might be too ambitious with your opponent also sort of doing the Kuman boom so far.
Well, teammate. I mean, Kasva and Brew are on the same team, right?
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying, that if you go early imp and the other player is just sort of booming still with 2 TCs, so he doesn't really have a huge amount of knights out, then it might be a little too risky to go for like the 1 TC imp for Kasva.
Well, I think the idea is that when you're getting that Imperial Age timing, it's your teammate has plenty of knights at that point. Like, you know, Bru's in Castle Age, he is on triple stables. He can make lots and lots of knights. So it's not like he's going to be in anything less than a very strong position to make lots of Castle Age knights. So I think the timing potential is still totally there. But of course, we're saying that as we don't really have tons of resources in the bank for Kasva. So what the heck do we know?
Indeed. Kasva is also forced from both of his gold mines because all of his minerals are pretty much on the front, so he might be forced to take an engagement here after all.
Third TC coming in for our yellow player Kamigawa. His eco upgrades are still a little bit better than that of Bru's, although Bru's are not bad. And just a bit of a scuffle here at the front. Cavalier coming forward. They're going to be better than the Cuban Knights, obviously. They essentially get free husbandry to humans at this point, but they're not any faster than any Civ with husbandry.
Third TC coming in here for Kamigawa as well. 2 TCs for Genji. Their eco is still weaker than their opponent's one though, because there's a 71 eco Brew over here, massing knights now.
And then we have the Knight Dance going on right now. But we have a ton of Cavalier storming in. More Cavalier than there are Knights.
Much more Cavalier, in fact.
And the villagers are going to be forced to retreat. Cavalier is going to be storming into this very exposed blob of Kasva units. Uh-oh. Did Kasva overextend trying to get this forward town center to secure that gold when they didn't have the army to do so? Because right now we have ROR around 13, 14 more military units on the field, able to pressure down this town center.
And behind this one, ROR is able to just go and have an untouched base in the middle. So that's also going to help, because right now Brew and Kasva are on a timer, as the ecos are now dead even.
Also, we have Ganji mining stone behind this, just adding another 11 villagers to stone. As Koreans, you're mining that extra quickly, and you can drop a castle in the middle, even more secure control of that very important area. Get all the gold income in the world. And this is looking like it's honestly getting out of hand in favor of ROR.
Exactly. Thumbring is on the way for Kasva over here. But honestly, especially Kasva will be in the need to delete that TC. Kasva. Okay, he deleted the foundation. I think that this might be an option for Genji to even drop a forward castle here on Kasva's golds.
That would be a bold move. We have a Mangonel out. Both.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, well.
There goes the Mangonel. But that was a beautiful control there from Kamigawa. Diving in, sniping the Mangonel. And looks like Genji's just too busy microing, so he doesn't even notice that he's now almost at 1,000 stone in the bank. So he can almost afford 2 castles here.
Indeed he can. Villagers actually out of gold. Kasva is out of gold 100%. And this is absolutely terrible, because it means he's now forced to take these fights, because he can't like switch into skirmishers, because they're just gonna do horribly against the enemy Cavalier. Ooh, this is gonna be looking pretty grim here for Armageddon.
And Brew was trying to move to the middle to get a TC up, but was intercepted by Cavaliers. So Brew is also set up on a timer here in terms of gold control, but even more so is Kasva. And there is the castle drop in the pit. Genji can afford another castle here, and I would say he probably just needs to drop another one in the pit and prevent the opponent from moving in, but doesn't really matter.
That was really all about Kasva not having, I think, the greatest gameplay or game plan.
I think it's the problem was that Brew was going 2 TCs, and that definitely gave them an eco lead. But it also left Kasva to play a 2v1 pretty much, and he had both of his golds on the front. And like the consistent problem was that we were talking about 15 Cavalier and 20 crossbows versus 20 crossbows and 3 knights over here.
Yeah, that was definitely an issue. The Cavalier production was just really strong from Kamigawa all game long. Brew actually 9 kills to 48 deaths. That hurts.
It does. So
Actually, it's a matter of archers, really, because Brew, yeah, he made fewer knights than Kamigawa made Cavalier, but it was 41 to 45 total.
So Burgundians actually yoink a win over there for themselves, and Golden Pit goes in the hands of ROR. Even Steven, after 2 games, it obviously was an easier game for ROR than the previous one.
Yeah.
It's not that hard though. So we're going to Atacama or Cape of Storms, and this is where we have to highlight that all 3 remaining maps are extremely open.
Yeah, they are, but these games haven't really been decided by tons of feudal age aggression, right? It's mostly been castle age play and then just trying to go more towards late game. So we'll have to see how these sorts of maps play out.
Yeah, looks like game number 3 will be on Atacama, so whenever you're ready, we can jump into the next game over here.
Yep, what time are you at?
4 seconds.
Oh, I am too.
Alright, let's do a countdown with 3, 2, 1, and go! Welcome to Atacama, this is the Red Bull Volvo version. So we have pawns in the corners, down south is Brew as Magyars in green. For Kasva, it's Bulgarians in blue, and it looks like we have a double stable opening here. Japanese for Ganji in red, and Indians for Kamigawa in yellow. I kinda feel like I like what Kasva and Brew are trying to do here a lot more.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. We saw the double stable play in the last set workout, but we'll have to see what can be done here, because Indians, you know, you have 2 players making knights. Well, guess who can make really good camels? Indians.
And guess who can make good pikemen? Japanese, so that's also part of the
Exactly.
equation. So I feel like it's going to be about Brew and Kasva being able to use their mobility in feudal, but once Castle Age begins, indeed, those camels will start to cause an increasing problem over here.
But look at this. We already have 2 spearmen out for Ganji. And Scout's being a little bit annoying. But I feel like you just keep on making spearmen, and that's exactly what Ganji's plan is, although he's a little bit housed.
He's heavily housed, and that Scout is delaying that house so much that at the end Ganji places a house close to his TC, which at a quite uncomfortable spot.
Yeah, kind of denying a little farm space.
So, looks like Kamigawa's also gonna have some housing issues, rushing up a house like there is no tomorrow. And Genji may lose a villager over here, although the spearman comes in for the rescue. Oh, beautiful micro. That was beautiful.
Control from Kasva.
That was absolutely textbook execution. But now the archers are about to hit him. Kasva coming in here with skirms, and it kind of feels like we're going to see 2 1v1s over here pretty much, and that should favor Brew and Kasva by a massive margin.
Well, what's happening on the right side? Just some scouts chasing each other, nothing too wild. Yeah, Bloodlines coming in for Brew, but Yellow is going to be on the water. Kamigawa going to hopefully be adding in some fish soon. He even gets a little bit of boost from Indian shore fishermen. And when the dust settles, ROR has a way larger army.
That is absolutely true. On the bright side of things for Brew's team, they will have Bloodline scouts with +1 attack for Brew in a moment. And also those are cheap, and it's going to take some time until Kamigawa starts benefiting from that fish. Currently it's an investment, and this might be the time for Brew to overrun him with scouts.
That very well might be the case. Villager going to be quick walling herself in very nicely, but these villagers on the fruit bushes are pretty exposed. There's only a single spearman right here.
And that spearman won't hold for long against scouts with +1 attack. Nice micro as well from Brew over here. Some spearmen coming to reinforce, but there might be 1 or 2 villagers killed here.
Oh yeah, almost certainly. There goes 1 on the other side. Looks like another fight is potentially underway as we actually have Kamigawa scouts over here with his teammate Ganji going to be absolutely mopping up the army of Kasva, which is kind of a mix between archers and skirms and scouts. And that is going to be a really good fight for ROR, so it's just a matter of can Kamigawa mitigate the damage at home, and I think he did.
There is Bloodlines in as well for Kamigawa, and remember that he's got the Indian scouts, so upgrades to light calves later on could be a thing as well. And now Kasva is the one that's forced to run away here from the scouts because he's the one getting double teamed.
Indeed. Gonna lose a villager right there, and it's pretty exposed. More archers and spearmen coming in with the magical box formation, which means that these spearmen of Kasva are not going to be anywhere near as effective. And then once the spearmen go in or go down, the scouts will be able to run in here and just wreck face. And that is exactly what we are seeing. This is actually looking really bad for Armageddon.
Yeah, until you realize that Ganji wasn't paying attention to his own eco and he got a lot of lumberjacks slaughtered. He lost 6 vills behind this one on the wood lines, and that count still continues to grow despite the Japanese spearmen being around.
Well, Japanese spearmen are good, but fully upgraded scouts in far greater numbers are even better. Oh, now we saw this already. Villagers trying to fight well-upgraded scouts.
Oh, that's just sad. That is just sad over there. And Ganji is the one that's suffering the most over here. If you look at the overall villager count, now Armageddon seems to have a decisive lead.
Indeed they do, as Ganji has just taken a massive beating. Even it's not that high for Kamigawa as well, so I guess he did lose a few villagers here and there. A couple fishing ships on the right side for him, actually a few fishing ships in the north for Ganji, and even a few more for Brew. But it's really just comes down to these wood lines being so exposed.
Exactly. And really, Ganji's archers were always there inside the base of Kasva, but they never managed to kill a single villager. So, really, so far, Arwar has killed 1 villager in the entire game. Make it 2 now. 2 villager kills, whereas Brew was able to leverage that army and kill more vills.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it was just a matter of Ganji probably trying to have his attention, or having his attention split on too many different sides at once. More scouts incoming here for Brew as he's just completely massing those guys. He is on a couple stables right now, not the 3 just yet, but still, that's a lot of Magyar scouts that you can afford.
Exactly, and they are fully upgraded now. On the other side, it looks like Kamigawa might be thinking about going into Castle Age here, but that feels like a suicide to me against that many scouts, unless you have crazy quick walls.
You need good quick walls, and you need lots and lots of spearmen, and he's at least making more of those, but that is so many scout cavalry. There's 14 fully upgraded scout cavalry for Brew, and he's going to be taking an excellent fight here against the, smaller army of Kamigawa.
Exactly, and now everything is wide open for raiding. The wood lines, but even more important, farming eco, to just push Kamigawa even deeper, because you raid the farming eco, he can't go to castle, or he can't actually get some more scouts out. In fact, Brew clicks up to Castle Age a little faster.
I mean, this game is just Brew dominates everybody.
Yeah, his fishing eco is getting killed by a scout, but that doesn't really matter at this point.
That's a bit awkward, but, you know.
And oh boy, that's a lot of spearmen there for Kamigawa. But it might be enough scouts, honestly, to take this.
The spearmen don't have any upgrades. Like, if they had defense upgrades, maybe that'd help out enough. And the quick walls are going to save most of the villagers, but... Wow, this has just been amazing feudal age aggression from Brew.
Here comes Ganji, though, and he is gonna push off those villagers from Brew from the wood line, killing quite a few of them. But I think at this point, Brew just needs to return or potentially hit the base of Ganji with all those scouts.
A few scouts even killing another villager of Ganji's back at his base. And this is a little bit awkward for our green player for sure. Defensive tower now being forced out. But I think he's going to at least survive until Castle Age, and once he hits Castle Age, has plenty of resources just to make a few knights and then go on his merry way.
Exactly. Kasva is the only player that hasn't clicked up just yet, and that starts to become a problem. And once we get to the Castle Age domain, that's where the Indian camels will start becoming a thing.
Exactly. And archers, I mean, they're still causing a ton of idle time here for Brew. They did a lot of economic damage, but they didn't really kill their opponent's army, at least not, decisively enough.
Yeah,
and also not the only player not fishing, which is almost certainly the reason why he wasn't able to click up.
Yeah, that's probably the reason why. Well, Brew lost all his fishing eco now to that one scout as well, so that's far from ideal. But they still have a pretty considerable villager lead, I would say.
Oh yeah, I mean, 17 vills at this point, that is pretty massive. FB.Kasva coming in for Ganji, but he's only on 44 vills. So he's a fair bit down, and he needs to get something done.
He definitely needs to. Those scouts will also be pretty annoying here for Genji. He doesn't really have the mobility. Although, once he has the crossbows, those will be pretty painful to clean up. The question is who's gonna switch into some range units here, because both Bulgarians and Magyars can do cav archers, but you probably prefer Magyars do that.
Certainly. And also we have the better eco for Kasva, although that's like mostly food eco. It feels like they're just both going to go knights, which could leave them kind of vulnerable.
Once again, crossbows hitting Bru's economy over here. And honestly, those crossbows are going to be hard for Bru to clean up over here. He just doesn't really have the food to mass a lot of knights.
And Lita, look at this. We're seeing 40 military versus 10. Like, yeah, the eco is still a bit better here for Armageddon, but the army is just way behind.
Yeah, they're not really Armageddon, they're Armageddon, right?
I suppose so.
And we have some mounted samurai coming in here from Genji, aka cavalry archers.
The mounted samurai are hussars.
Yeah, at least in the game, as we have, oh boy, that TC for Bru. That TC for Bru, it's going up, but quite a few villagers lost their lives trying to do that.
I mean, yes. How on earth is Armageddon supposed to recover from this militarily? They're being pushed. They have like a quarter of the army of their opponent, and I just don't see how they ever buy time.
Yeah, it's really hard because there's so much idle time on Bru's farming economy. It's just wide open over here, and while he now has safe wood income, the thing is that we have crossbows arriving, camping down the bottom of the tower of Kasva over here on the wood line. Kasva is also adding knights here, so they remain on double knights as well. So camels and cav archers will beat them.
PC now going to be coming in the middle, and actually that is a lot of very exposed villagers from Ganji.
Yeah, but the knights won't care. Or at least up until now.
Okay,
and when they start caring, it starts to become problematic for Genji over here.
But, I mean, there needs to be like a forward siege workshop or something. I feel like that would be very helpful in just pushing down, really for either team, actually. No, a Krepos, that works well as well. We're going to have +2/+2. Husbandry. That's one way to make this comeback.
Yeah, that Krepos rush could work. Although I feel like it could have been better on the wood line, honestly. But that is an aggressive Krepos we're looking into, and it's not like there's enough cav archers here.
4 farms. That's a terrible Krepos. It doesn't deny anything.
It destroys the TC, I assume that's the plan, although quite a few villagers will lose their life over here.
I mean, eventually...
Yeah, it goes up. It probably...
Oh, the Krepos goes up 100%, I think.
100% you say?
100%. You gotta double down.
100% you say? Lord Doubt smile upon us. That's a Doubt Krepos.
100% eventually. Just you wait.
Oh my goodness, there goes all the eco advantage that Kasva had, and now they are in trouble. Kasva is down to 35 vills.
Yeah, that is not good, to say the least. Bru actually able to recover a little bit economically. It seems like the units of Arwar have been chased away for the time being. So that's going to be helpful, and he's actually going to be switching over into cav archers, but Magyar cav archers, they're not any better than Japanese cav archers until you get recurve bow, and that is a long time away.
That's the funny thing here, that everybody's like, oh yeah, Magyar CA, but Magyar CA is just generic. Obviously, it scales very well if the game goes very long, as that's gonna be a proper Doubt Krepos here.
Comes up.
98? Oh yeah, proper Doubt Krepos.
100% the Krepos goes up.
Absolutely, it went up. You are totally right about that. It's a different question that Kasva has nothing left, and as you said, that Krepos isn't really denying much.
It denies now 2 farms.
It destroys the TC, alright? That's a positive.
Yeah. What a wild series so far. We've had like every sort of game in just 3 games.
And there's a lot more to come as things stand. Now, those camels increase in numbers, and soon they can start pushing TCs because they do have the Indian building attack bonus. There's an overchop here for Kasva on his wood line. Looks like Kamigawa will be nice enough and he won't use that against his opponent though.
Honestly, like, the time it would take to kill those 4 villagers might not even be worth it. Okay, well now he's just derping around like a goofball.
I think maybe he even considered that he could get his army trapped in here.
Yeah, maybe. But doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. We have 3 TCs now for Kamigawa. He can just keep up that camel production, and it's going to be good against everything that Armageddon's going to be doing.
Ghost of Yura, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you. So, the Krepost is going to take down the TC, but at this point, I think Genji's more than happy that he has 52 vills, and he's also increasing in Cav Archer numbers, despite the fact that he doesn't have ballistics or bloodlines, probably not even husbandry. So, those Cav Archers are sort of underwhelming.
Oh, we have some Cav Archers running all the way down south, but they're going to be caught out by a bunch of camels. Just kidding. Camels are going to run away. Notably, they only have +1 defense. It's not really the greatest upgraded camels in the world. Okay, there's +2 just started.
Brew needs to do some massive carrying here, but as weird as it sounds like after Kasva lost 1 million villagers getting this Krepost up, the vill count is dead even.
Yeah, I mean, like, Brew has been macroing like a madman. And that's, you know, especially impressive as Magyars have no eco bonus. And if you're just able to chill, get up to high numbers of Cav Archers, maybe you can make this happen. He's going to be getting good upgrades, ballistics and thumb ring, and he's got all the other upgrades.
Yeah, indeed. Whereas his opponent doesn't even have ballistics on those CA, but Brew is getting severely outnumbered though.
That's just the big issue right there. 19 Cav Archers, even with good upgrades. It's still pretty much the same as Ganji, and then the camels make a huge difference there. They are faster than Cav Archers and can hunt them down when they feel like it.
Yeah, many of the camels are damaged, so it's not like Brew is going to lose his entire army here, but it's all about containing Brew's numbers right now, although Kasva starts arriving with a couple of knights, and a Krepost drop here could easily disintegrate Ganji's wood income.
This is a good Krepost position. But, oh man, look at the base of Brew. He is getting completely overrun with camels and Cav Archers.
Yeah, many of those camels are weak though, so he has to be careful here, because this might be an overextension by Genji. He doesn't have bloodlines, doesn't have +2 defense either, I believe. So, those die pretty easily, and that's exactly what we're seeing.
Brew's closing in on the resources necessary for a defensive castle, too. And that could buy him the time he would need to get to the Imperial Age, or at least get to a strong enough number of Cav Archers that you can't really push against.
Or alternatively, he could try dropping a castle on the wood line that Genji is taking in the middle. That would be an excellent castle, and there isn't really any army that stops him from doing that.
Well, it would sort of punish Ganji's wood eco from both sides, and that would be really annoying to deal with. And look at this, the Cav Archers from Brew are taking a pretty darn good fight right here.
Yeah, as we discussed, there is little upgrades on those Cav Archers from Genji. And now's the time to strike when it comes to dropping a castle. There it goes. There it goes. Kasva on the other side, just trying to get another Doubt Krepost up against the CA, but honestly, that's the perfect distraction. Wait a second, where are they going? Okay, that's gonna be the castle.
There we go. Oh my god, you know what's gonna happen? Is that whenever Brew is gonna like make any unit, it's gonna get trapped in that little space on the upper left side of the castle. And he's gonna make a trebuchet, it's gonna pop out, and then he's not gonna be able to get the trebuchet out.
He can delete the castle. Like Jordan did with PC. Oh yeah. Now this is gonna hurt Genji now, because I mean, Kasva's eco is far behind compared to Genji's one, but Genji is forced to do mass migration right now. And he's gonna be on 1 TC as well.
Yeah, like, again, Brew's macro is totally on point in this game. Able to just get the amount of villagers he needs. Oh, this castle from Kamigawa is going to be quite good. And you know what kills Cav Archers? Elephant Archers.
Oh boy. Now, you gotta be careful here for Kamigawa. Because if the camels all chase that group of CA, the other group might snipe down the vills, and indeed, this castle is not just yet going up. Although now it seems like it's gonna go up.
Yep, that does seem to be the case. Population and eco and army and all that stuff is in favor of ROR, and yet Brew and Kasva have the score lead.
Yeah, it's all Brew though. What's more surprising is that Kasva's got the same score as Genji, despite Genji having twice the villagers and probably Genji having twice the kills as well.
AoE score is it's a fickle beast.
Oh,
50 now for Brew.
Yeah, he's dropping a watchtower here. They just try to deny woodlines at this point. The castle went up, but Imperial Age is on the horizon now for Brew here. It's a very, very long set, despite the fact that we have only this one being the third game only.
Well, when you have something that's like an hour and 49 minutes game time or something like that, it tends to drag things out.
But yeah, but it's also about this game. Atacama isn't always this long, as the big problem here for Armageddon is that Kasva is just not getting anywhere. He keeps losing villagers on these Doubt Creposts.
Yeah, he's not getting anywhere, and yet at the same time, Brew is getting everything he possibly could need.
Yeah, this is so awkward, because Kasva's military here is sort of the Vills, making that absolute Doubt Crepost once again on the left side. But
Ow.
it is just providing distraction.
Oh man, Camel's healing up in the castle. If only we had herbal medicine. Cheaper.
And now traps will be a thing here soon. Imperial Age on the way for Kamigawa though. And that would mean that heavy camos, imp camos could be a thing. By the way, fun fact, the starting scout of Genji is still beating up the scout of Brew at the bottom. At this pace, that dock is gonna go down.
That's funny. Okay, but real talk, Lita, I think Elephant Archers would be the best play. You're trying to fight over one very sort of small specific area, and they're going to be trading obscenely well against, well,
Yeah.
pretty much anything Magyars do.
I can see that. And the only way Brew could do in that case is try to raid with the CA, something that he's doing right now. And that's gonna stretch out the attention of Genji and Kamigawa. That allows Kasva to drop a Crepost at the bottom, and boom. Genji and Kamigawa will struggle for wood income now, although they seem to have a good fight over here.
That seems to be good enough, and yet Imperial Age is in, Bracer, Parthian Tactics, Chemistry. And as we were saying, it might be completely generic Cav Archers for Magyars until Imperial Age, but, I mean, we've hit Imperial Age, and once Recurve Bow comes in with all the other upgrades, it is going to be really, really good. And there's Recurve Bow.
No traps coming in from Brew though, which means that that castle is gonna stay up for long, and Heavy Camel immediately coming in. There is still a timing here for Brew, because Heavy Camel takes forever to research.
It's definitely quite a little while. A couple extra TCs in the north, as well as a defensive castle for Ganji, so he wants to secure his own area. There's like tons of buildings coming up everywhere on the mini-maps, like castles, town centers, everywhere.
And look at this, they realize that Brew's Cav Archers are not at home, and they would just jump on the TC here. That might be a game-winning move, honestly.
I mean, there are 9 villagers here. It's definitely nice, but now we have barracks being added in.
Uh-oh, look at the other side though. Kamigawa is not noticing that his villagers are getting torn apart by those CA now.
Oh, that hurts so much.
Yeah, so much more than that TC going down.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I really honestly think that going for some Elephant Archers would not at all be bad.
Yeah, at this
Because
point...
the Cav Archers are going to be so annoying to ever try and kill, even with camels.
The problem here is that Brew is constantly forced to play 1v2, and Kasva is still very far from being a factor, although it looks like that TC isn't going up for Kamigawa either.
Oh no. Well, the thing is, I think Brew can pretty comfortably play 1v2 at this point. I mean, what is Ganji gonna do? Ooh, Imp Camel coming in.
Yeah, Imp Camel coming in, and also lead skirms from Genji. I saw Halberdier clicked for Brew here, but those would just died per Cav Archers of his opponent.
Konik! Oh man, Kasva. Gonna go for the Konik play. One goal. That's his army.
Yeah. It's better than nothing. It's like, it's something. Now, I think Kamigawa is doing well, Brew is doing the right thing hitting Kamigawa here at the eco, because that forces Kamigawa to chase, buys some time to maybe take that castle down, although Brew is gonna end up losing that trap.
Oh, the quick walls here from Ganji.
Oh, it's a trap. That's a trap there.
Oh my god, now you just delete the one house. Just delete the one singular house. And that's exactly what he did. Oh my god.
Oh, the slaughter.
This game, but oh man. That was a beautifully orchestrated fight for the ROR guys.
And now Brew is down to 16 Cav Archers. I was about to say that if this game goes long, Wood is going to be a problem eventually for Kamigawa and Ganji, because they are forced to take these small Wood lines. But at this point, Kasva is far from influencing the game, and Brew just doesn't have anything to fight with. He's making Halberdier, but those will die to Ganji's CA.
Indeed they will. Camel Archers, or not Camel Archers, that was the last game, or two games ago. Imp Camels, Cav Archers, going to be doing just fine for the time being. And the Trep are going to start popping down these defensive buildings, and right now what Brew really needs is he needs time, but I just don't really know how he can get it. Magyar Hussar is trying to swoop in to snipe the trebuchets, but really nice positioning from Kamigawa, going to protect those trebuchets.
Yeah, one trap goes down, buys some time over here for Brew, but he's not counter-trapping it, and he's just losing more and more ground right now. And Kasva, he has just managed to reboom, but it might just be a little too late here.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I mean, he's not even really rebooming, he's on 83 villagers, he's way behind everyone else in the game. And it just might be a case of Kasva being a little too not influencing this game at all.
Yeah, I mean, the early Kripos drops, like, some of them were alright, but he just started to boom behind that a little too late, I think. He tried to press this Kripos drop thing too long, lost a lot of vills trying to do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to the first Kripos being delayed at, like, 90% or whatever.
Yeah, now he's back in the game, but he's still Castle Age. It takes some time for him to get any army out, and it's double the army right now for ROR, as the only castle in the middle goes down from Brew.
Yeah, that's going to hurt a lot. No trebuchet production of his own. Oh, no, he has a castle in his base, so he can still make trebuchets, but no bombard cannons, obviously, for Magyars.
Yeah, exactly.
And being behind in the trebuchet count is a really big issue.
He also doesn't have heavy cav archer here, so that's the only thing missing here. And he also has the final armor upgrade missing, so it's only 4 pierce armor for those CA. Some light cav coming in here from Kasva is like, I'm helping.
Look, I'm helping! Bro, I'm helping! So Magyar Hussars are gonna, and regular light cav are gonna snipe these trebs really fast. Man, Magyar Hussars kill trebs fast.
Yeah, honestly, those light cav also help from Kasva. They're sniping the trebs just in time. So, as much of a meme it was to have like 5 light cav coming in to help at this stage, they actually helped sniping those trebs to save the castle.
And having the castle alive is something that is actually keeping Brew in the game right now, so it's funny how things work out in life.
Oh, look at the right side. That Feudal Age scout is still there. He stopped hitting the dock, and now that scout is on the right side, trying to delay those villagers getting that TC up.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. Still, a bunch of imp camels are out, but Kasva managed to reboom here, so I think now he has to just send that light cav right into the base of Kamigawa and force Kamigawa to chase with the camels, and that TC on the right side isn't going up for Brew.
Brew still has a decent number of cav archers. Is Ganji close to Imperial Age? Yeah, he's pretty close. So that could be one way to finish off this game.
Yeah, and now you have to chase the camel or the camels over here, as Kamigawa's gonna send all his camels around.
Oh no, there's out TC on the right side.
Yeah, that TC is not gonna go up anytime soon. As another Krapos drop comes in from Kasva on the north, he's not giving up on this one.
Well, Ganji has finally clicked to the Imperial Age. Imp Camel's coming in to do some raiding. When your only unit is a light cav, it's not really going to be the greatest in defending against Imp Camels. Oh, this is looking pretty rough. And now we're going to be switching into some Japanese halberdiers, is Ganji.
Exactly. Although Japanese hubs won't be particularly good against Magyar CA, so obviously it's going to be against the cavalry from Kasva. I feel like Kasva could just go into Imperial and maybe try to go full sling mode, or just go stir up Slight Cav and try to raid.
If you'd be able to drop a castle and then get stirrups, and then maybe you can make a full castle age play work. But right now it's looking pretty darn grim. Krepos just drop like flies in Imperial Age.
Yeah, they are. And the eco is still way worse for Armageddon over here, so... I mean, Kasva has managed to reboom more or less, but he needs to start becoming a factor soon because time is running out. Brew cannot 1v2 this the whole time.
Yeah, we have Imp now 50 seconds away. Cav Archers trying to do whatever they can to deal with the Imp Camels, but it's just not really going to be enough. Light Cav swarming in from Kamigawa. No trade even thought of just yet, which is kind of surprising. We can see it just like on the lake shores. So it's not like you have to have bad trade on this map.
Yeah, exactly. You can do nice trade over here, but there is a lot of extra gold, and I kind of feel like it's more about the root control. Brew's eco is collapsing over here under the pressure, and now that Ganji is imp, that might seal the deal here.
Would you say that Brew's eco is heavily bruised?
Yeah, you can say that.
And I did.
You can see that. It's a villager Armageddon, if I may put it that way.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I appreciate Kasva's efforts here with Lightcav and Krepos, but that's not really gonna work for a long time.
Yeah, that's... especially without stirrups. Like, their DPS is nothing special.
Yeah. I mean, as I'm saying that they snipe a trap, I think the only way this works out is if Kasva can get that light cav and just raid Kamigawa to death here, but it's gonna be hard, because then there's still Ganji with 150 vills.
Yeah, that's a huge eco. Hussar now coming in for Kamigawa as well. But just pushing in with Trebs and Halves from Japanese should be enough to seal the deal.
But Kamigawa is out of gold. That complicates matters a lot, and we did talk about the fact that it's not like they have a very reliable Voodoo income either, so hold on, we might be in for another crazy game.
Cav Archers now getting heavy. They got big, man. They got swole. But now they only miss Ring Archer armor, so they are very well upgraded.
And Ring Archer armor is in. Indian Hussar are nothing special anymore. They do have their sort of extra pierce armor compared to generic ones on Light Cav in Castle, but not in Imperial with the Hussar.
And you even miss one melee armor.
Exactly. And now Kasva is imping. He's got a lot of Light Cav. Comeback is real?
It's possible, although I still think we're in the realms of very, very unlikely. What we really just need to see is Ganji and Kamigawa just really pushing right now. A lot more army needed. Where's Ganji's army?
He's raiding on the south with Hussar, but he mostly is running into Halberdiers, so it's not like he's actually doing a lot of damage. And this is where we have to highlight that Kasva's a big survivor. He's one of those players that likes to drag out games for very long and then just raid his way back, just like Hera or MBL. So he really knows how to raid well with these light cavs. So that there might be a way back, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there is a way back for sure. And the lack of trade is potentially going to be an issue, because if you can't make gold units, then you're really not making anything that's going to be great against the Cav Archers.
Exactly. It's going to be the same thing as in game number 1. It's going to be the unit that retains its value so well. On the other hand, Brew's eco is now disturbingly low, and as long as Kasva only has Castle Age Light Cav in dubious numbers, those skirms will actually perform pretty well on the battlefield.
They'll be doing well enough. And Japanese halbs, some skirms. Oh, light cav coming in. Trebuchets are very exposed.
Yeah, I was looking at the Brew's eco in a meanwhile, because Light Cav is also coming in there, and he's down to 64 eco. He barely has anything left here.
Yeah, I mean, Atacama is just so open. It's so difficult to protect your villagers in the late game. I mean, even compared to Arabia, especially since you're trying to gather wood in the middle, where it is a kill zone more or less.
Yeah, it is a kill zone. Currently, both teams have access to wood, but if you look at the map layout right now, it is Armageddon that's being cut off from wood in the next couple of minutes as their wood lines are running out.
And they only have a little bit left. And Brew doesn't really have any. And he just has like a tiny, tiny little area over here, but...
Well, luckily he doesn't even have veils to chop wood with, so I guess that makes it even. There is no stir-up still for Kasva, but those are now Hussar, and there isn't really a huge amount of hubs here for Ganji, even though he has queued up 69 of them.
The thing is, we are only seeing trash units from ROR right now. And that just feels so underwhelming when it comes to actually finishing up this game.
Exactly. And is that castle gonna go up? I think it will, because the light cav will probably focus the trebs. That castle is crucial, and Genji knows that as well.
Oh man, those Japanese halberdier absolutely nom nom through the hussars, but the cav archers, they are now fully upgraded.
And they eat the villagers. That castle isn't going up either. What a set so far.
Oh my goodness. Both of these sets, man. At least that I've been casting with you.
Yeah, this is definitely off to a strong start. At the beginning, when we started casting, you were like, oh yeah, I hope it's not gonna be a one-sided set. Here it is for you.
Well, I only expect the best. I am only willing to cast with you on good sets, so it's amazing how this would have worked out. Otherwise, I would have had to sue you in the true American way.
Oh yeah, I'm already scared. So population is still heavily in the favor of ROR, but this might come down to resource control soon. Especially if Genji keeps just sort of going for full kamikaze strikes here with the Japanese halberdiers.
Yeah, like, if you look at the army value, it's actually ahead by a fair margin for Armageddon. And that's just these cav archers. They just retain their value so freaking well.
Exactly. And on the other side, Genji is trying to get that castle up once again, but look at the cav archers. That control from Brew there. That is just absolutely beautiful. 93, 96, nope, not just yet.
Nope, no cigar.
Brew has a castle, he needs to start making traps to take that down, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Kamigawa has a treb, and he's just going to start working way out of town center, but here's the issue. Those Japanese halberdiers, if they're able to, you know, make contact with anything that Brew and Kasva are making, they're just going to shred through them.
Nice move from Kasva to snipe the trap on the north, and it looks like Genji now gets the castle up, which denies all the remaining wood income from Brew and Kasva, as ROR is already stonewalling their trade.
Yeah, and the fact is they're getting trade. They're working towards it. They only have 4 trade carts right now, but we don't even have the markets up for Armageddon.
Exactly. When was the last time you saw trade on Atacama?
Long time. But, I don't know, this is where I feel like the 2v2 game mode is at its strongest, is in late game. Because you see players forced to use more than just archers and knights, and you get these really interesting dynamics where it's like kind of like 1v1, but you also have that trade factor. And you can get such great games out of it.
Exactly. Skirmishers are being mixed in here by Genji, as the scores are still pretty close. It's gonna be about who has more access to wood, though.
And also, who is making the more wood-intensive army? Because Ganji's army is very wood-intensive, as you're making a unit with very low, or a very high turnover rate with the halberdier. And, you know, these cav archers, yeah, they cost wood, but if you're keeping them all alive, then it doesn't matter, and the hussars don't really cost any wood at all.
And the cav archers just retain their value, so that's not a problem there either. Looks like cav archers... Oh boy. Oh boy.
I mean, Brew is just full beast moding it in the late game here.
That's actually a good question, because Kasva could think about swordsman with bagains here. That pretty much kills everything that Ganji and Kamigawa have, right?
It doesn't have gold income, though.
Yeah, but champions or swordsmen aren't that particularly gold heavy, but I agree with you. There is some gold on the left side that he could take.
Zero amount of gold.
Yeah, there is
back in-
definitely a lot of gold to take still on the left side. It's just a matter of probably scouting for players and, more important, just focusing the army.
Oh yeah. Now we have finally Kamigawa and Ganji able to start pushing through. The Cav Archers, we've literally lost half of them almost.
Yeah, still there is quite a few of them, and now Genji's wood income is going to start plummeting, and that's where suddenly he's just not going to be able to make any army.
Exactly. I mean, both of his, his two units, Halbs and Skirms, cost wood. Even the trebuchets that he's using to support costing wood. And the thing is, Kamigawa's, he's just making Hussars right now.
Yeah.
And that just feels so underwhelming.
Bru's economy is still disturbingly weak. I mean, he's getting raided on the right side by Kamigawa, and if you look at Bru's eco, he's got 0 gold, so that's all the Cav Archers he's getting. 51 on wood, 16 on food.
Yeah, he is making more villagers now, even though it's not appearing in Capture Age for some reason. But he's trying to expand his eco.
He's mining or chopping wood really heavily, and he is a deathmatch player, so he knows exactly the importance of resource down on this map, but I kind of feel like that difference in economy is going to start showing now, especially because Kamigawa can just keep flooding Hussar, and Kasva is struggling to keep pace with that.
And trade is growing. It's growing slowly, but we're looking at around 12 trade carts now for ROR.
Exactly, and slowly but surely those skirms are eating up the Cav Archers. A couple of minutes ago we had like 50, now it's just 40, and there is absolutely no hope for Bru to remake any of those.
Also, the lack of stirrups is really disappointing. It literally is the fastest attacking, the second fastest attacking land unit in the game, as the Bulgarian Hussar.
Yeah, it's just the Indian Hussar flood, and just keep flooding it. That's what Kamigawa is doing, and Bru's eco is just falling apart here. He's gonna be down to 60 vills, and it's not like Kasva's eco is better either.
Oh yeah, it is getting harassed quite heavily as well by these Hussars of Kamigawa, and like 130 vil difference. It's just going to be a matter of production at this point, and it is not going to be in favor of the Armageddon guys, and that's going to be GG. Well played, says Bru, and that is, after losing an incredibly long game number 1, ROR strikes back.
Exactly. You played 1 hour to die like this, because keep in mind that it was Bru pretty much just trying to carry this the whole time. So, like, after 30 minutes, it was pretty obvious that Bru is just going to have to 1v2 this for a long time, but Kasva was never able to get to a stage where he could help, and they were always forced to defend, and they just got raided to death at the end. Bru still 1.88 KD, that's pretty decisive.
Yeah, that is insane, actually. I mean, that's kind of like the nature of going for Cav Archers, but it's still really impressive that he was able to hang on for that long. Also, something that I think is really important is only 58% eco efficiency for Armageddon is really bad in a game that's that long.
Exactly. So, with that, we once again have a very long game over here in this one. ROR taking over now 2-1. We have Magyars and Bulgarians gone over here for Bru and Kasva.
Yepper.
Whereas on the other side, Japanese and Indians are gone over here. So far, this set has definitely delivered, so it's worth the ending of the day.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the next map is necessarily going to be... I actually never updated my map command. So...
The next map is the other home map of Armageddon, which is Cape of Storms.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I'm
That's
jumping
so weird.
into the
I
game.
launched the game and I'm on like one player's POV, and then the game like instantly switches me to another player's POV.
Yeah, that's
No idea
awkward.
why that.
Just to answer that question, yes, the teams can switch between their backup players anytime. So, so far we haven't seen Vodka play for ROR. I'm not sure if he
He
just
might-
wasn't available or what's the plan here. But one thing is sure, he was also a quality player in his team. So if he's not getting any games today, he might get some in the next rounds.
Exactly.
All right. Are you ready? I'm paused at 5 seconds.
I am too.
All right. 3, 2, 1, and go. All right. Welcome to Cape of Storms over here. We'll have Mayans for Kasva in blue as the flank player, and Brew is going to be playing Malians in green. Genji with the Vietnamese as red on the left side and flank, and Hans for Kamigawa in yellow. Which of these two civs you prefer?
I think they're pretty similar. Vietnamese Mayans, I mean, I like Mayans a little bit more. And then, like, Malians Huns, I'd say it's pretty even. Yeah, I think this is... There are two civs on each side that kind of want to do the same thing as we have the Eagle Scout now going down. Unfortunately, in Empire Wars, Feudal Age Scouts beat Feudal Age Eagle Warriors, and so if you get caught off guard like that, you can get rectoed.
Nice move from Kasva here. I like this. He brings in the elephant because on this map, in a random map, you would start with 3 elephants or sometimes rhinos. In Empire Wars, you obviously lose 2 of that because that's how Empire Wars works, which leaves 1 elephant per player, and you can lure that elephant in for some extra food. Something that...
Actually, almost everyone's doing that. Kamigawa isn't. Or no, actually, just the guys on Armageddon are doing that. Really
Exactly.
smart.
That's actually a thing that I haven't really seen in Cape of Storms games so far either. That's a very, very nice move, as Fish is being added by Brew over here. One of the very few civs that can afford a stable and archer range and the dock at the same time right at the beginning of Feudal Age and Empire Wars is Malians. So that's why they can sort of be that fish boom plus aggressive style civilization in Empire Wars in many cases.
Oh yeah, and this is also old patch, so they still have the free gold mining upgrade, which is more useful in early game than longer lasting gold.
Exactly. Still, looks like Kamigawa and Ganji are coming in here with superior forces, despite the fact...
This is actually already looking really bad. Some early trades are starting to add up.
Exactly. The KD, Genji 6 kills 2, that's Kamigawa 3-0, and that's exactly what starts to snowball this one. We're talking about 7 archers against 2, despite the fact that Kasva has 3 ranges. His opponent only has 2 and making the 3rd one right now.
Yeah, that's pretty rough, and he needs these 3 archery ranges to, like, even maybe catch up. But even so, Kamigawa has the faster producing scouts as Huns, although we do have forging in for Brew, so his scouts are a little bit better in straight-up combat.
Is it? Kamigawa's got bloodlines, and one of the things that actually helps here with the faster working stables is bloodlines, and I actually prefer bloodlines over forging here. Kasva apparently getting smashed here, and as long as the previous game was, it looks like we could be in for a fast game here.
Oh yeah, this is already looking really bad for Armageddon. Defensive watchtowers incoming. It's going to buy some kind of time, but we can easily see, Kamigawa and Ganji rotate to the north to the base of Brew, and even so, a villager or 2 is going to get picked off. Just the one, it seems.
And this is one of those maps where it's so cutthroat and aggressive here on the land combat at the beginning that really the coordination matters quite a bit, and that's what we're seeing from ROR, and we talked about that coordination probably is better for them, and skirms is never a good sign in a 2v2.
Generally not, unless they are able to find attacks onto the archers, and they do, but the skirms are all just going to get absolutely butchered by the scout cavalry, and once again we see the military lead in favor of ROR. Archers, same upgrades. Scouts have everything except bloodlines for Brew, but that's about to come in, but is notably not in right this second. Oh, that's kind of an unfortunate timing, but oh...
That's enough for Brew and Kasva to hold. A crucial hold, I must say, over here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's really important. And the thing is, the army numbers were actually larger for ROR right there, but they had reinforcements trickling in because they had to go all the way across the map.
Exactly. There is triple stables here for Brew, so part of the reason why we're seeing that many scouts from Brew is triple stables. He's up against double stable, but it's Huns. Eco is much, or slightly better for ROR over here. Fishing eco up for Kamigawa, so it is for Brew. The flanks aren't fishing so far.
Exactly, and if you're looking at resources for Castle Age, nobody is super close just yet. Ganji actually might be the first one up. Actually, he's using the market quite intensively, and there he is.
Exactly. And Kasva is not that close, but we know how efficient Mayan economy can be, so I don't think Kasva's gonna be that much behind over here, especially now that he's housed, so his DC is idle.
That'll work out for you, I suppose. I mean, Mayan Eco in Empire Wars, it's not that great. I mean, not benefiting from the longer-lasting sheep and boar, generally speaking, is like that's usually the biggest impact of the Mayan Eco bonus. But still, it's not bad. And the cheap archers also help you save resources. But we're still going to be seeing a decisive Castle timing advantage for Ganji. But in this fight, it looks like the army's a little bit better for Armageddon.
Is it? We're looking into 11 versus 10 scouts and 16 versus 15 archers, so it's very, very close over here. But as you said, this might be the time where Kasva needs to click up. He is going to have a 1.5 minutes deficit into Castle with a fairly open base.
Oh yeah, and it's just so close to the enemy, right? It's just how Cape of Storms works. Nobody even trying to make anything militarily on water. Just fish booming away.
Exactly. It takes so much time to get to the opponent that players are probably like, okay, let's just spend our resources to archers, because even just a single fire galley is pretty expensive.
Especially when you're this close and the fights are this even. Both Cav players are clicking up to Castle Age at more or less the same time. So that's going to be all even, and now it's going to be this timing advantage. With the help of the market and taking some better fights early on, is Ganji going to be able to make something happen with Crossbow and Bodkin?
Yeah, Kasva is trying to limit their movement with some houses, just slow this down a little bit. But now those are crossbows, and this is not a fight that Brew and Kasva can take.
Well, it's the scout dance, but they need to buy a lot more time.
Yeah, that's gonna be a long 50 seconds, plus you also have to...
Coming in too. Now the villagers are going to have to abandon this gold mine for Kasva, and that's just another brick in the wall.
Exactly, and the crossbows are about to have ballistics here as well, so Kasva will remain one step behind compared to the archer player of the opponent, as they're trying to squeeze that army through that forest there. Took some time to do.
But they are going to make it through the forest eventually, and then they're going to make it out, and then they're going to split up. Oh, but this is a... Oh, no, yeah, you need Kamigawa to just sit there at the choke point, and this is just so devastating.
It is. Let's see if Brew's gonna go for light cap here, because light cap is in for Kamigawa. That's a big force to fight against. +2 defense light cap, even Tumbling for Kasva.
I mean, the military numbers are pretty even.
Yeah, it's about where those armies are. That's really the question.
Yeah. There's Light Cav, Crossbowman.
Tumbling. That Tumbling is gonna help in this fight quite a bit, but Vietnamese in exchange have the extra HP. So this is at best an even fight for the two teams.
And it's not even an even fight. It's not even an even fight. As just massive advantage militarily in favor of ROR.
It seems like it's very even at the end. The good news is that they are actually doing this fight inside the base of Brew, and Brew will also have to run his lumberjacks in here on the north.
Some reinforcing knight's going to come in for Kamigawa. It was also ballistics v no ballistics, which makes a big difference, and just more eco is going to go down, and I feel like this game is just snowballing so much.
To a point where Brew and Kasva say, GG, good luck next. After winning a very, very long and grindy first game over here, ROR, the team coordination, maybe the experience playing together, come in clutch, and they are the ones getting into the main event. I think, like, when you look at the teams that sign up, you probably expect ROR to be there, just based on how much they were able to play in these top tournaments, but they got a tough opponent here, and they really had to run for their money, especially after game number 1.
Oh yeah, and like, this last game was the only one that was just kind of a completely one-sided bop. I guess the Gold Rush game was, or Golden Pit game was kind of as well, but still, it was a very hard-fought series. And I think what we saw from both of the teams that qualified, and when you and I were casting together, it was the teams that had the better coordination, especially when it came to how they took fights, were the teams that ended up winning and were more successful.
Yeah, that's probably common for 2v2s, but especially in Empire Wars, because even just a slightly better fight in Feudal can snowball the game, like basically what happened here.
Yeah,
Slightly better
exactly.
fights for ROR, delay Kasva to Castle Age, and from that point on, it was a snowball.
And it even snowballed real fast. But that was it for day number one, Lita. I hope you are happy with how things went.
Exactly, we got some very, very good games, and we are not even in the main event yet. So, we are yet to see players like Doubt and Slam, or Yo and Lix, or potentially Jordan and Taro playing together in this one. That's where things are gonna get interesting. So, ROR joins those teams in the main event. Congrats to them over here.